Hi, so myself Manjunath, so I'm a UPSC faculty since last 9 years. So I'm handling geography and economy for the UPSC. Okay, let's today, so we will discuss about the overview of geography, and later so we will see the overview of economy for CSC, both prelims and mains. So look, the UPSC is again one of the prestigious exam, right, of India, and the questions are asking from the last few years. It's been more focusing on geography and economy, and trust me, and these two subjects are very easy, and if you have built some of the conceptual clarity over the subject. So today, so we will discuss why the geography is important and what kind of the questions they are being asked and what kind of the questions they are asking. So okay, and the geography is also, trust me, and again it's a one of the easiest subjects in the UPSC preparation. And again, okay, it's been rumors around that, so in few days, right, there will be the KS notification, and just be ready for that too. And if it's okay, and if you work from today, means definitely you will be in the list. Okay, so let's today, so we will just focus and I give the overview of geography, right? What is there, right? The things in the geography, right? Fine. So let's start the geography. Look, the entire geography, so for our convenience is okay, as per our convenience, we classify the whole geography into 3 units. Okay, it's very simple, and again, as I told you, so 3 units. So what exactly the 3 units consist? So unit 1, I say, so right, the unit 1, it's about, right, so fundamentals of geography. The unit 1 is always, so we go with the fundamentals of, right, the fundamentals of geography. So when I talk about the fundamentals of geography, so here what we have to study, because if you understood the fundamentals, and definitely the geography will become very easier. So what we will study here, just as we discuss about in the fundamental geography, so related to the sun and its components and related concepts. So what kind of the concepts that we study here means, so just I say the sun and its anatomy and some concept like solar prominence and solar mass ejection, coronal mass ejection, and sunspots, solar pleasures, right? And the planets and the systems are concerned, the planets, dwarf planets, asteroids and types of asteroids, M, S type, and again we have the C type, and again we have the near Earth, right, the asteroids, and what kind of the near Earth asteroids we have, what kind of the space missions we have with respect to the asteroids, the dwarf planets and the planets. And again in detail we will discuss about the what do you mean by planet and how you differentiate between the planet and the dwarf planet, asteroids, meteorites, and all these we will discuss. And again asteroid belts, where it comes, and what kind of the space missions that's offered ISRO, NASA, right, other space agencies were being launched. Okay, and these are all concepts we will study here, and again some related concepts like we say that's geomagnetism, right? So geomagnetism, what does it mean actually, and paleomagnetism and its relevance today, and now the the geomagnetic poles are now shifting, right, and why it is happening, and what do you mean by the significance of SWAM satellite. Getting my point? And similarly the South Atlantic anomaly and its use, and again use in the sense what is the impacts of that, of the South Atlantic anomaly, where it is, and all we will discuss. And similarly we discuss in the fundamentals and related that what are the space missions were being carried out for the sun and its to study, and these are all the things we study in the fundamentals of geography. And again in the same, just like as I told you, the sun, what we will study here, sun and its system, right? Just I'm telling you, like this we will study. So in the sun, what we have to study, just and then just you have to study about the anatomy of the sun, and the related concept, just we will study here, right? And again, trust me, it's a very easy, and definitely there will be a question, right? And again similarly you can go for that, the star, right? And it's okay, what is the cycle, the star cycle, and what do you mean by white dwarf, neutrinos, right? And many things we will study in this one. And also we had to say that, in case of this system of the sun, just as I told you, what we will study here, just we will go with the planets, okay, the meaning of planets, types of the planets, and what are the space missions, right? What they will ask you in exam, they will ask you all these kinds, okay? And similarly, and again, maybe the dwarf planets, and again the same. So what are the dwarf planet meaning, and what are the dwarf planets are there, right? And what are the space mission? And similarly, that's I can go with the comets, right? And what do you mean by the comet, and what kind of the space missions we have been actually launched with respect to study any comet, and suppose if any, so we will discuss. And similarly, we'll go with the asteroids, right? And in the asteroid, and we study about the what do you mean by asteroid, types of asteroids, right? And we all study, and any space mission, if there is any for the exam is concerned, it becomes very important, right? And we will discuss here. And similarly, you can go for the meteorites, right? And how these meteorites are, right, create some kind of the meteor showers. And also we can say that's of the pseudo volcanic landforms, right? And already UPSC asked. That means those kind of the topics we study in case of this. And in case of, as I told you, the planet and is concerned, in the planet is concerned, we have the different types, right? Inner and outer, we can say Jovian or terrestrial. In that we will study the Earth, right? Because Earth is an inner planet. And with respect to this, like as we know that, latitudes, longitudes, and again their significances, right? And the longitude significances, and just you can say that of the time zones, because already India has a issue in the time zone, right? That's the unofficially, so we are following the Chai Bagan time zone. And India, so who is which authority is being responsible to conduct or to make international, our India's time zone? And all these things we need to study, and how, on what base we study or calculate, and each country's the time zone, right? And like this we will study. And again the simple thing, again the international date line and other things also we will study. So this is what in of the fundamentals of geography we will study. I hope you are getting, right? And suppose Earth is also, we can tell you, similarly I'm talking basically you must know that the hydrosphere, that means of it's all about the oceanography, and that means of how the the impacts of the water, water and that one. And also we have that's of the lithosphere is also there, and again you can say that of the climatology, and you can say, and again cryosphere is also there, and again we can talk about the biosphere. So that means basically we will discuss what do you mean by lithosphere, what do you mean by, basically we will discuss in the fundamentals of geography, hydrosphere meaning, and what are the topics are related, cryosphere, what is actually the cryosphere, and what is happening in the cryosphere, and global ambition alliance is now being set up in order to especially to enhance or ensure the interest of the cryosphere countries. And similarly we will discuss about the lithosphere and what are the topics related to the lithosphere, and all we will discuss. I hope you are getting in the fundamentals of geography what we will study, right? And what you have to know for the UPSC is concerned. I hope you are getting. And similarly and after that you can say, right, after that so you can say that the second important, you can say, right, unit 2, right? You can say that is a unit 2, right? So in case of the unit 2, just I say, right, so in the unit 2, right, you can say the unit 2, so what we will discuss and what we have to discuss means it's about the physical parameters and their impacts, right? Just we study the physical parameters, right? We can say them as the physical parameters and their impacts, right? And their impacts. The physical parameters, you can say them as temperature, pressure, right, the density, and all these, how they are influence, and how they are influenced each other, and the relationships, consequences on the atmosphere, right? And that is also in briefly, in a nutshell we can call it as a physical geography. And again in the physical geography, right, so what we have to study means, just I say, right, look at now, And the first chapter in the physical geography, that's what we have to study is it's about the geomorphology, right? Trust me, the geomorphology is again a very significant topic for UPSC, and they are recurrently asking questions in mains as well as the prelims, right? In this years, they had asked the question regarding the fjords. The fjords and how these fjords are environmentally and economically have their significances, right? How they have significances. So they have been already asked. Look at whenever you are talking about this geomorphology, right? One thing has to be come in your mind, right? The come in your mind is that it is all about landforms. It is all about landforms. Okay, and always think the geomorphology is nothing but a landform. There are different types of landforms, right? And again, associated land and associated concepts. And one more thing, the geomorphology is a concept of what? Geology, right? And in the whole geography, right? And if you say that in the geography, in the subject, and only here we discuss more about the concept of geology. Right? And however, in the landforms we have the first order landform, second order landform, third order landform. And here what we will study means and how the first order lands are being formed. Just I am giving example, like the first order landforms are there, right? The first order landforms are there, and how these first order landforms are being formed? Yes, they can be explained with the help of continental drift theory. Right, just we need to know, and what do you mean by continental drift theory? Who was the protagonist of this theory? And is there any evidences with respect with regard to this theory and all you need to say? And before, one more thing you need to know, before the starting with the geomorphology, you must know one more basic concept called, right, I can call it as the geological time scale. This is a very important. Unless you won't understand the geological time scale, you cannot go, right? You cannot understand the whole geography. Because by understanding the geological time scale, we can easily connect to the chapters or the given topics here. So again, what do you mean by geological time scale means? And you can say that how the Earth is being classified, right? Just I can say the Earth is being classified into as I told you that of the eons, right? The eons, and what are those all eons? You must know them. Right, I can say the Saharian eon, Archean eon, and we have one more very important, the Proterozoic eon, and one more is we can say that the most recent eon is a Phanerozoic eon. And these eons are actually the combination of different eras. We have the Paleozoic era, Mesozoic era, Cenozoic era, and these eras are again the combination of different periods. Just I can say that, but just I will give an example like that, in that of the Paleozoic era, so we have, I can say the Cambrian, Ordovician, right? And again, you can say Silurian, Devonian, right? Carboniferous, Permian. Okay, these are the periods which are forming our era, right? So by combining these all periods, we can call as a one era. So similarly, you can say the Mesozoic era can be as Triassic, Jurassic and Cretaceous. Look, the Cretaceous time is a very important because as you know it, during the Cretaceous time, your Deccan Trap is being formed, right? And it's being, there was a huge mafic lava eruption and how the Deccan Trap, the Deccan Plateau is being formed, right? We must know about it. And similarly, as I told you, and the periods further divided into tertiary and quaternary. So these are, we can call them as what? So epochs, right? Okay, these are some periods, and these again we can call what is a Paleocene, right? I can say that Eocene, Oligocene, right? And again we can say that Miocene, right? And the Pliocene. So these are the again Paleocene, Eocene, Oligocene, and again as I told you Miocene, and again Pliocene. So these are what, sir? These are the epochs, the many epochs. It's a very simple, right? If I say here the many epochs, okay, they form a period. The many periods, they form a era, and the many eras form a eon. Getting my point? And similarly, many epochs can be formed by age. Are you getting my point? And again, the age are different things. That if you know this, you can easily understand the geomorphology chapter, and trust me, it's a very, very easiest one too. And if you have the concept regarding the regarding the topic, I hope you are getting, right? And if you understand the geological time scale of the earth, then only you can understand the landforms. The first I am telling the first order landform, how can we explain? With the help of the continental drift theory. And again, as we know that continental drift theory, the theory means it's an opinion with some evidences. It's known, okay, it's not necessary to accept universally. That's why sometimes what happens, the theories are ejected. In the same way, the continental drift theory was failed in some manner, in some aspects, so therefore the theory is, okay, discarded. So therefore, the one with the J.F. Morgan in 1967, so he propounded one more comprehensive and integrated theory called plate tectonic theory. This is again a very important today. Till today, we are believed this is the comprehensive theory right now, but we don't know in the future whoever comes and can give one more theory. But still today, so we must know about the plate tectonic theory. And this is again very important. When you know about the plate tectonic theory, right, trust me, right, and you must know, sir, what you have to study in the plate tectonic means, what kind of the landforms are being produced, what kind of the forces are being responsible, right, compressional forces, tensile forces and all, and the plate tectonic theory. And besides this, some of the landforms, besides the landforms, just again, so, okay, what you have to know here is, so besides the plate, besides the landforms and besides of the forces, and one more very important thing, so regarding the plate tectonic theory is that, the mechanism associated. So what are those mechanisms? As I told you, so volcanic earthquakes. And when you are talking about the earthquake, just you need to know, so what do you mean by earthquakes, types of earthquakes, right? Is there any earthquake, the zone classification in India, and if so, who does that? Right, who does the earthquake zone classification in India? And one more very important thing with respect to the earthquakes, and just you need to say that some of the catastrophic waves and what, those can be the body waves and the surface waves. And as you know that their classification and the role in producing that one, role of Mercalli, role of Richter, there is many concepts you need to know. And majorly you must know about the Allah Band fault. That what it is, the Allah Band fault of 1819 at Gujarat. So this is also very important, right? Still its impacts to be seen today too, right? We have been seeing that impacts still today too. And all these concepts you study. And one more very important topic here is that the mechanism after the earthquake is a volcano. Look, so when we talk about the volcano, the same thing here. What do you mean by volcano, types of volcano, just as you know, and volcanic landforms, right? Intrusive and extrusive, can tell you. And when you're talking about the intrusive, there is a different, again, volcanic landforms. We knew it, right? Like cordant volcanic landforms. Example you can give is for the silts. And similarly, the discordant volcanic landforms, you can give it as an example of dikes, batholiths and all, right? And these are the concepts you must understand in case of the volcanic one. And besides this, and when you have volcano means we have to go for the rock and the rock system, types of the rocks and rock cycle, and what do you mean by lithification, what do you mean by diagenesis, right? And all the things just we need to study here, right? And what is the role of this in case of nutrient cycling of environment, right? Just, it has a connection, right? Just, and these are all the things we need to study. So one more thing after this all, and we must know about where there is a plate tectonic, there will be some of what tensile and compressional forces, and there will be some kind of the landforms. And just we need to know that, what do you mean by fold, mountain, what do you mean by symmetric fold, asymmetric fold, right? Overturning, fold you can say. And similarly, you can say that, in the fold mountains are concerned, what do you mean by syncline, synclinorium, okay, and anticlinorium, right? And why it's syntaxial bend to the our Himalayas. And when we have the tensile compression, definitely we will have some crack, and when the crack means, as we know it, right? Suppose crack happens means it causes some kind of faults, right? And just can be a normal fault can be there, and you can say the reverse fault can be there. Sometimes a parallel fault, the fault can be there. Just when I talk about that, what kind of the faults we can say at Himalayas, just you need to know that, right? Okay, because suppose if I say at the Himalayas we have the reverse fault or thrust, we say at Western Ghats and that's of the Meghalayan plateau is concerned, so we have the normal fault, right? Yes or no? And these things we study here. Okay, trust me, nowadays the questions are asking UPSC always asks based on the concepts, but in the state level exams, right, earlier they were used to ask right surface level, like the static part they were used to ask, but now and I think since 1 year or 2 years, so they have been asking the questions based on the concept, and even I say they had to ask, because by reading static you can't enhance or ensure the proper administration. So only you can enhance the proper administration like planning and other things only when you have the clarity on the topics. Unless you don't have any clarity, you cannot make a plan. So without plan, we cannot properly utilize the resources. And if you want means how you can enhance the economic growth, and if you know growth, no development, no quality of life. No quality of life means there will be disruptions. There will be a huge disparity in the country. As you know, the disparity leads to the challenges to the internal security. Finally, it can destroy the value of national integration. So therefore, finally the value of national integration, if it is destroyed, means there will be no existence to the country. That's why I'm telling, the questions should be asked only based on the concepts. Then only you can we can have the better India and the better Karnataka. Unless or otherwise, right, we maybe it's difficult to have beautiful state or beautiful country. Okay, so in the geomorphology, just I'm giving, and it's a very important. And besides this, again you have to say that endogenetic and exogenetic forces, and endogenetic forces, from them we study the different types of the mountains, be it residual, be it volcanic, as I told you, fold, block and all we study. And similarly, you can say the exogenetic means we have particularly that's in situ and ex situ we say. And when you talk about the in situ, we will have the weathering, right? Just you can say what do you mean by weathering, right? What kind of the questions they have asked, right? Types of weathering you must know, right? And its impacts on landforms, right? So whatever, if there is the process of weathering is being taken place, means definitely it will have impact, right, on the not only in geographical aspect or geological aspects, but also the environmental, economical and even the political, right? So therefore it's very important. And otherwise we have the ex situ, that's we can say that of the erosion and the deposition. Trust me, is again a very, 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 very important topic in the erosion and the deposition landforms. And trust me, there are more than 105 landforms here are there, and trust me, all are for your exam is concerned important. The most recently the drumlins are being asked, cirques being asked, kettles being asked, right? I'm not asking you, they will ask UPSC, this is fine, but they are now asking questions in the state PCSCs. That means our Karnataka Public Service Commission, they have been asking questions based on the landforms. So therefore, how these landforms are being formed, like we can say that Aeolian, fluvial, karst and coastal, right? And there are different the topics again are related to there, like what do you mean by eustatic, and what do you mean by isostatic, what do you mean by emergent coast, submergent coast, right? And related concept, and how the coastal landforms are being formed, how the glacial landforms are being formed, how the karst landforms are being formed, fluvial landforms, types of flow, right? What do you mean by the braided channels, and what do you mean by sinus, meandering, oxbow lake, oxbow scours, pine boss, and alluvial fan and arcuate delta, right? And again bird food delta, and what do you mean by the kite or cuspate delta, you can tell you, and these are the different things that's you need to know in the geomorphology, right? So trust me, whenever you study about the geomorphology, you must know the two things. One is the landforms, another one is the landforms and related concepts, like as I told you, fault and different evolution and all the things will come. And the second very important, theories are also will actually given there itself. And the second very important, the geological aspects also we need to understand, because the geomorphology, as I told you, is a geological aspect. That means what we study here and how the internal composition of earth is being there, and what do you mean by their closed system, and how the temperature and the pressure relationship, and what are the meaning of the discontinuity, and what is the use of that by studying, and what are the roles of the seismic waves in understanding the interior of earth. Just you had to study about them. So if you study this much and this chapter is finished, okay, it's very simple, and just you need to say, right, this is entirely we study in the geomorphology all this topic, right? I hope you are understanding. So trust me and read, read clearly, and if you read subjects clearly, trust me, adding static is not a big thing, right? As I personally believe, and if you have concept clarity, definitely trust me, just adding any static to it. For example, if you have understood that how the Himalayas were being formed, it's a very easy that we can add what is the length of Himalayas. It's a very easy. So therefore, just focus on the concept, and then you can go with the adding the static. Okay, I hope you are getting. And the second very important topic in the physical geography or unit 2 is, just I say, it's a climatology. Trust me again, it's a very easiest. Suppose if you have understood the climatology, trust me, as my personal opinion, you will understand the whole more than 75 to 80% of geography is done. That means that much important this chapter is. Just sir, what we will learn here, as I told you, is a climatology is it's a what do you say? That's a chapter of 4 pillars. What I personally believe. One is we can say the temperature, another one is the pressure, and another one is the air mass and the humidity. Okay, if you study these 4, the pillars of this geography, trust me, the geography is done. For example, sir, what we will study, for example, I am telling you the temperature. Suppose if you take the temperature, you must know what do you mean by heat budget. And what if happens if there is an imbalance in the heat budget? That's the case of the global warming, right? Okay, greenhouse gas effect that causes to global warming, and then climate change and all happens, right? And what steps have been taken and all the things we must know in the heat budget. And secondly, different layers of atmosphere you can read with help of the temperature, right? And the layers are actually classified based on the temperature, right? Just we know the tropo and all this, right? And we must know the characteristics of each layers. And what do you mean a common layer and its significance too, you must understand, right? So besides this, and also we had to study about the lapse rates. Sir, why the lapse rate is important? Without what I personally believe, if you not have clear enough with the lapse rates, you do not understand how clouds are being formed. Because in order to cloud is if the cloud is being want to be cleared or is want to be being formed, it must have 2 important components. One, we can tell you, right, what it has to be. So one is the latent heat, right? That is a very important component for cloud formation. Another one is the lapse rate, and again in the lapse rate can be our examination point of view. We can be classified in 2 ways, right? Open and a closed or adiabatic. We can tell you adiabatic may be dry adiabatic, wet adiabatic, and again you can be say it has normal and a negative. And what do you mean by temperature anomaly, temperature invert, right? What happens if the temperature is being inverted, and all these things we have to know here. What do you mean by heat island effect, right? And temperature distribution, and how the temperature is a very important the factor, right, in the geography and all this study. And similarly, the pressure thing is concerned is again very important relationship between temperature and the pressure we had to say. And what do you mean by the pressure gradient force, and what do you mean by Ballot law, right? We discussed the Ballot law. And also we had to understand about here the impact of the Coriolis force and impact of the Ferrel law. And again we have to study about the different types of the winds, and though impacts on the global climate also we need to say. And similarly, I can say that in the climatology, one more very important topic especially in the pressure belt is that the tricellular model, and we can say the global the air circulation is a very, very important, because as I personally believe, without them and there will be no jet streams. And just you need to know what do you mean by geostrophic winds and the types of the jet streams, and these jet streams role especially in India, right? It's very huge. And especially when you're talking about the pressure and the winds, we must know about the mechanism of Indian Oceanic monsoon. Trust me, okay, this is again very important, because mechanism of Indian monsoon or Indian Oceanic monsoon, it's been a very important, because as you know that the lower income people in India, they do depend on agriculture for their daily livelihood, right? And suppose if the agriculture, that means of the monsoon gets affected, means directly the people of those dependents will be get affected, right? So for that reason I say that the understanding the Indian monsoon is very important, but till now we do not build any proper proper theory in this regard. Why I'm saying this, because and in 16th or 17th century, so there was a man called oceanographer or climatologist, you can say, called Edmund Halley. He had given a theory based on the specific heat, right? Differential heating of land and water. But this theory was now in 1951 it was being discarded, and by H. Flown. And now he believes that why India or other parts of the globe gets the monsoon rainfall, it is because of the shifting of pressure belts, including ITCZ. And but still the people, right, I say in 1973, the one more very significant the monsoon expedition was being carried out by Indian geographers or climatologists, you say, or you can say the oceanographers, and you can say the USSR climatologists or oceanographers, and that experiment and that expedition we popularly known as the MONEX, right, monsoon expedition we can say. And look, they believed, so it is not only it is not only the the influence of or shifting of pressure belt only give rain to India, but also the role of Himalayas, role of jet streams are also very important, right? Especially the tropical easterly jet stream. Because of that reason, reason only we have onset of monsoon and sometime break in monsoon and sometime monsoon burst. So these are all the things we need to know here. And the same, one more important topic here you have to know is that, so during monsoon time there was there is a cloud burst at UK and Himachal Pradesh. And what do you mean by cloud burst, and what do you mean by Langmuir precipitation, and why the cloud burst only happens over there? And all these things you need to know where we are talking the mechanism of Indian monsoon, and again the roll up and the contribution given by our beloved, right, Sri P. Koteshwaram, right, his contribution we should not forget, right? And all these things we will study in the mechanism of Indian monsoon. Trust me, right, understanding mechanism is a very important. It is not only for examination is concerned, but also for being an Indian, because look, and everywhere it gets, the monsoon gets rain, but particularly, trust me, so India gets more rain compared to other parts of the world, because this is not only shifting of ITCZ, but also it does modification over India. So this is why, or that is why, so we get more monsoon rainfall, so why we call as a monsoon climate. And all this we discuss in this one. And the humidity is also very important, the same thing, types of humidity, meaning of humidity, what do you mean by relative, absolute, specific, mixing ratio, right, and what do you mean by the latent heat, and how the clouds are being formed, types of clouds we have to study, and how updrafting, downdrafting, they cause the lightning, and how is there any a methodology to add the lightning into the list of national calamity, right? The most recently, right, some of them that actually suggested that to add the lightning into the way the list of national calamity, but unfortunately not is okay. Unfortunately, the government now it's being rejected, because it can be, right, it can be, if you have a proper preparedness, you could, okay, you could avoid the lightning. So because of that reason, now they have been not, okay, ready to accept the proposal to add the lightnings into the list of national calamities. So these all the things we will discuss here, and similarly the rainfall and types of rainfall and all the things we have to study. And similarly, one more, the air mass, types of the air mass you must know, and here you must know the fronts, types of the fronts, and the cyclones. And when you talk the cyclones, as means you can say that's a tropical. What do you mean by tropical cyclone? What do you mean by temperate cyclone? What do you mean by polar cyclone? And especially, right, what happens if there is a, okay, the sudden stratospheric warming, right? If suppose if happens sudden stratospheric warming, if it happens, means how it influences the global climate, right? And just you need to know, especially again how this, right, can say that, you know, how it could trigger the dents in the ozone, right? So आपकी जो ozone, and just you need to know. And again you must know the Chapman cycle. When you're talking about the ozone, you must know the ground level and the, okay, stratospheric, and how the ozone is being formed according to the Chapman. And again what actually, you know, ground level ozone is being formed, and all these things we will study here. Okay, I hope you are getting. And similarly, cyclones are concerned, just you need to know that, you know, how the cyclones are being, right, you know, being studied, and how, what kind of the cyclones we have, conditions for the cyclones, and also what we will study, how the cyclone forecasting is being done by IMD, what are the steps are there, right? And similarly, what do you mean by mesocyclone, what do you mean by megacyclone, Fujiwara effect related to this one, Vernon-de-Waal technique with respect to the, okay, cyclone, what does it say, and all these things we will study in the cyclone. And what is the difference between, okay, tropical, temperate, polar, just you need to know. And again one more, so if there is a cyclone, means there will be anticyclone, right? And just you need to know, okay, the differences they would ask you in exam. And similarly, okay, and just apply this for India, and why more, despite India is a tropical country, but we experience more cyclones during October and November, but not on what, during June and July. Why it happens and all, why Bay of Bengal receive or get, okay, that gets more cyclonic rain or more cyclones compared to the Arabian Sea, and what is the role of find later jet stream, and all these things you need to know, and we must know in case of here. And similarly, right, in the climatology, one more very important topic is the global climatic classification you must know. That is, I say personally that, you know, the Trevor's you know, climatic classification, and one more is the Köppen's climatic classification. So which is again very important to understand, and based on that, you know, how we have classified India into the Trevor's and the Köppen's, and similarly Karnataka, right? And they will ask you in exam, and that's also very important. I hope you are getting what to be read in climatology. Right, and after this, right, and after this, the third very important chapter, right, in the okay, in the what we can say, in case of physical geography, we must know about the oceanography. So trust me, again, it's a very, very, very important chapter, and again, you need to know. So here, what we study, and we study here, what is the mechanisms are associated with the surface water of the ocean. Right, and it's a very simple, and what we have to study is hypsometric curve. That's a very important here. Just what do you mean by intertidal zone, erratic zone, what do you mean by oceanic water or oceanic zones, what do you mean by epipelagic, mesopelagic, bathypelagic, abyssopelagic, hadal pelagic, and all these things we will discuss. And especially, you know, after this, again, what we have to know, the global, you know, the oceanic surface temperature distribution, how it exactly there. And here we had to study that what do you mean by the slope, right? Temperature slope, it forms, right? High temperature, low temperature, what we can call it as, right? The cline, right? And what do you mean by thermocline, halocline, phecocline, and all these things we will study here. Other than that, you know, oceanic mechanisms, again, as I told you, the chapter is all for to study about the oceanic mechanisms and their impacts around the globe. So what we will study means here, it's a very simply, we talk about particularly, right, first we can say that of the salinity, and so say meaning and what exactly the meaning of salinity, where is salinity high, why, and all these things, and the currents, and also it's a very important thing that what do you mean by current, and what do you mean by drift, what do you mean by stream, and all these things we study, and what are the reasons for this. And especially in the currents, again we study about the impacts of the currents. Is a very important. Particularly we must understand the Australian oceanographer study called ENSO, right? El Nino Southern Oscillation. So when I talk about the El Nino Southern Oscillation, it's a very important topic here. So because as I told you, ENSO, the El Nino Southern Oscillation, has three phases, right? The positive phase is known as a La Nina and how it happens and all, and the neutral stage is known as the El Nino Modoki, and just we will discuss and what happens during that and what are the conditions for being formed, and the negative stage or negative phase is known as the El Nino. So these are the things we will discuss about the ENSO, and again Indian Ocean Dipole and their impacts, particularly on Indian monsoon, right, and all these things we will study here. And besides this, Ekman transport, Ekman spiral, because without understanding Ekman spiral, and you cannot understand how the current moves in the ocean, right? So to understand properly the movements of the currents, we must understand the concept of Ekman spiral. VW, the Ekman, so he was a Swedish oceanographer, has given this theory. So based on this, we can say that how the currents do move, and all these things we will study in the oceanography. And besides this, and the most important, again the topic in the oceanography, what we study means, we study the oceanic zones or maritime zones, like what they are: national water, international water, and issue of South China Sea, 9-dash line, right, and again the freedom of navigation operation of we can say that UN clause, that United Nations Convention on Law of Sea, and the most recent convention with respect to this one is Behind the Boundary National Jurisdiction Convention also, right? Already UPSC already asked the question regarding BBNJ. They will ask you again. So therefore, and if you understand, and when you're talking about the international water, that means you do not have any right and authority or power. So it's a very important to get, it's a very important to get the permission from the International Seabed Authority. So what exactly the role, and what do you mean by the polymetallic nodal programs, and what do you mean by ROVs, 6000 and all these things, and Samudrayan project and all, we will discuss here. And once you have done this, right, suppose oceanography ke baad, and again one more very important subject here is the environmental geography, or topic, not subject, you can say easy. It's a very easy. The environmental geography is a very easiest chapter, in the geography again. So why I'm telling you, trust me, and if you understood the environmental geography, right, and you will understand why or how we can ensure sustainable development goals. Suppose without the sustainable development goals, the concept of what we say that 5 trillion economy, whatever the Karnataka's dream of achieving trillion economy, they can be only on paper, and if you're not effectively implement these or effectively understood these concepts. Sir, what we will study, the entire environmental geography, we study the role of environmental geography. So what do you mean by ecosystem? What do you mean by interactions, right? What do you mean by levels, and what is the role of them? Ecosystems significance, like we have while we're talking about the significances of the what do you say that of the ecosystem, what do you mean by law of 10%, food chain, food web, ecological pyramids, and all these things. And also we can say that the nutrient cycles are very important. And when we talk about the nutrient cycles, and just I can go for the perfect and the non-perfect cycles also we discuss, all right. And similarly you can go for the succession and other related. And one more very important in the ecosystem, what we have to study means the types. And once we study the two types we do, right? One is the terrestrial, one is the aquatic. And the aquatic, as you know that some of the we have fresh water, the marine water, the brackish, we can say estuarine. And similarly you can go for the terrestrial ecosystem, can be classified into the many ways, right? We can say the equatorial forest, you can tell you, and the desert you can tell you, savanna you can tell you, Okay, you can say that's the monsoon climate, China type climate, right? And also you can say that of, okay, steppe you can tell you, and again you can say Mediterranean, and you can say that of the British type, and you can say the Siberian, Laurentian, and again you can say the taiga and the tundra, and you must know the characteristics of each ecosystem. So definitely they will ask you an exam. Okay, I hope you are getting. And the second very important topic in the, okay, that's of the environment, just we need to know the biodiversity. So here in the biodiversity is a, okay, again very important topic, and just sir what we have to know here is, I say particularly different species there, right? What do you mean by keystone, flagship, umbrella, and also what do you mean by invasive alien species, indicator species, and all these things, and what are the role of mosses, lichens, right, and gibras, and all these things we study in case of the indicator species. And once you have done this, and we must go for the right species richness and species awareness. Based on the richness, again alpha diversity, beta diversity, and the gamma diversity we do, and again who was actually given this theory and this concept, and that's also we need to say. And what do you mean by genetic diversity, and what do you mean by species diversity, and all these hot spots, cold spots, right, and many aspects. Okay, what do you mean by red data book, and all these things we study in here. And once we have the study about this, the factors affecting of the biodiversity, just we need to say, okay, which are all factors affects the biodiversity. That's also becomes a very important for our exam. And once you have done this, and one more, okay, thing is there, that is called the climate. Right, the first is ecosystem, the second is the biodiversity, and the third is the climate. So what we will, and what we have to know about the climate, okay, about the climate in the examination point of view is, we must know about what do you mean by greenhouse gases, and you must understand the global warming potentials, and what do you mean by that, and why we have taken carbon dioxide as a reference gas. And next is the global warming potentials, and what do you mean by carbon flux, and what do you mean by net carbon, and net zero, and green carbon, blue carbon, red carbon, right, and brown carbon, black carbon, right. There are many carbon terminals, offshoot, right, carbon offshoot, what exactly mean of them and all. So we had to study, and we will study in this one. And once you have studied this, and the challenges, like we have the pollutants, and you can say that's the solid waste management, what are the techniques we have and all we study in case of here. And one more very important thing in the sustainable development goals, we study the Stockholm Conference and its impact. So whenever I talk about the Stockholm Conference, and it's a very important, and just why it's important. So the Stockholm Conference, it's being, okay, paved the way for the sites. So when I talk about the sites, right, and again the traffic, right, so we can say that of the traffic is also being, Ramsar convention is there, Bonn convention is there, right. So all these things are very very important, and just you need to know about all of them, right, trust me. And if you study this, you will study everything here. Are you getting? The Stockholm Conference further paved the way for, cemented for Rio Summit, right, and again it is again paved the way for UNFCCC. That's you need to say, what do you mean by UNFCCC, its role, what are the conventions, why the Kyoto Protocol is being considered one of the cornerstone in environmental governance, yes or no, and all these things we study here. And UNCCD, it's okay, and it's the most recent conferences, and again triple convention meaning what, and what are all the most recent conventions, right, and UNCBD, right, and okay, and what do you mean by that, and again all these, right, we will discuss, right, related, what do you mean by biological patent, and is there any biological patent related, right, act in India, okay, and what is the role of National Biodiversity Authority in enhancing or ensuring the interest of biological, the interest of the people who are, or who have interest over biological patents. And all these things we need to know, and role of Gram Sabhas with respect to them, and the PESA's role, and Forest Act of 2006 role, and we will study everything, Environmental Protection Act, what all environmental related acts are there, schemes are there, right, we will study in the environmental geography. So trust us, we can give and I can give more than 700 right acts and policies and schemes in this chapter. Okay, and if you we will study in this one. In the 5th chapter, I personally believe, or one more thing you can add here, the challenges of environmental geography. What are these? Same thing, earthquakes, droughts. Are you getting my point? Cloudburst, okay, and we can say the floods, lightnings, right? And these are some of the avalanches, landslides, landslips, soil erosion, and all these things we actually study in the environmental geography itself. And one more very important thing is the pedology, right? And here what we study is about soil, how soil forms, and what are the factors are responsible for the soil formation, and what all factors can control the pedogenesis, and all these things we discuss, and what do you mean by soil profile, and what do you mean by different soil orders, like we have the 12 orders like entisol, inceptisol, right? And all these things we study in case of here in the pedology. And one more very important thing in the pedology is that how the soil is being formed, and what do you mean by glaciation, what do you mean by lateralization, what do you mean by or we can say that's in a podzolization, and what do you mean by podzolic soil, and what do you mean by peat soil, bog soil, right? And all these things we study, and also the types of the soils also we study here, and we can classify them as the zonal soil and a zonal soil and the intrazonal soil, and how these soils are being formed, and all these things, and what are the issues of soil erosion and the soil quality, steps taken by the government, and all these things we study in the pedology. Okay, and once we have done this, right, so we will finish up with the physical geography. That means, trust me, if you have built the concepts clarity over the topics, definitely however they can ask you, whatever kind of the questions if they ask, you will able to give the answer to the questions, trust me. And again I am telling you, if you understand the concept, it is the geography and other subjects will become very easy, right? I hope you are getting. Look at this, and if you have understood, and one more unit I will tell that that is a unit number, right? So 3. Unit 1, what we have to know, fundamentals of geography, and the unit 2, the physical geography, and the unit 3, the human geography. And in case of when you talk about the human geography unit, this is also both important. It's an importance for the both prelims and the mains, for the both IAS and the KAS is concerned. Look at now here what we have to say, and we will directly say that the population geography and the population the settlement geography we say, and it's a very important, because what can the questions they ask you here, and here the races, the tribes, tribal zones, cultural regions, language regions of India. And what do you mean by endangered languages and endangered languages alliance, and all these things we study in case of here. And again the same thing, what are the steps taken by the Ministry of the culture in enhancing, right, in enhancing the languages or culture of India, and all these things we study in case of here. So not only this much, and also we study in case of the population geography is that the demographic indicators. What do you mean by the demographic indicators? And if you have clear-cut information regarding the demographic indicators, definitely you could enhance the dividend of the demography. That means if a country have dividend demography, that means a very profitable what do you say, that the population, we have the skilled education and everything, if they have inculcated these kind of the qualities, trust me, that country will boost economically, socially and politically, right? So therefore the demographic dividend, demographic indicators we must know. And what do you mean by population pyramid, sex ratio, mortality rate, out of pocket expenditure, right? What the government is being doing for in this regard, and all these things we study here. So not only this, what do you mean by city, what do you mean by town, what do you mean by tier 1 city, tier 2 city, tier 3, tier 4, that's one. What do you mean by megalopolis, metropolis, conurbation? What do you mean by urban development? The many things. Why we call Delhi as a national capital region? What is the reason behind it? And all these things we study here. And also the migration and the population theories. This is again you can you can guess a fixed equation of the population theory. Especially in KS, they have been asking, right? What do you mean by demographic transition theory, Malthus theory, right? Marquis theory, and optimum population theory of Edwin Canning, and so one more very important limit to growth theory of FAO, the Club of Rome, what we call, and all these things we study in the population, right? And the many other topics related. And one more very important is a regional geography, trust me. And again, it is a very important, you know, that unit or in a chapter in the geography is concerned. Sir, so what we have to say, look at now why geography is being for your syllabus. It is only to make a proper plan, because it has to, or it will assist you to make a plan, right? And if you want to make a proper planning, you have must clarity over regional geography. That means of here what, sir, we will study, and what do you mean by formal reason, functional reason, role of the formal reason, what do you mean by agroclimatic zones, agroecological zones, right? And what basis we do, and all these things we will study. And what do you mean by mineral resources, what do you mean by agri resources, what do you mean by the land resources? Are you getting my point? And all these things we will study. What do you mean by the water, right? Water is a resource, right? And what we have to study? The drainage system. And when you are talking about the drainage system, you must know the different river patterns, right? And you can say the derailed pattern, radial pattern, parallel pattern, obsequent pattern. Are you getting my point? Release there, right? And look, there are different things are there, and just you can tell you, right? I hope you are understanding this one, okay? Trust me. And again, it's a very important, and again, and also here what we have to study means, okay, different programs and the regional disparity and the steps taken by the government to reduce the regional disparity, right? Command area development program, community development program, integrated rural development program, minimum needs program, right? National employment guarantee program, right? You can say the TRISEM, you can say Jawahar Rojgar Yojana, and you can say that, you know, Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarajgar Yojana, integrated watershed development program, and again national watershed development program for the rain-fed areas, rain-fed authorities is located at where, and all these concepts, and again the most recent water management program. And I can say that the Pradhana Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, reward scheme, okay, Jaladhara, Jalamruta, Tintini. So there are many schemes, right, we will discuss here. Okay, I hope you are getting. And one more very important thing that's here is we will discuss about the minerals, mineral regions of India, right? We have to study industries of India, where the glass industries, aluminium industries, right, cotton industries, and these kind of, and the fertilizers industries, or pharmaceutical industries, okay, and all these industries we will study. Industrial areas also we will study here, right? And suppose, okay, if you have, and beside this we will go with the political geography, right? And just I say, in case of the political geography, right, suppose if I say in the political geography, sir, what we will study means, it's a, okay, it's all about why, how the geography is being, you know, important to make global policy, or how it become one of the major basis to make policy formulation at the global level, at the globe level. And that you need to know what you mean by geopolitics. Are you getting my point? And what you mean by ecomene, what you mean by frontier, right? And all these things we will study. And what is the India's different policies, what you mean by look east policy, east east policy, look south policy, link west policy. Are you getting my point? And what do you mean by that's of the, okay, the initiative for strategic, what do you say that diamond initiative, necklace diamond initiative is there, na? And belt road initiative. There are many such initiatives, and we will discuss some important topics with respect to the international relation here. And one more is there, right? The last one you can tell you, right? You can tell that one. Economic geography. Sir, so what we will study here, the role of ports, role of infrastructure. Sir, what we will study in the economic geography, and just I can say meaning of GDP, meaning of GNP, right? And what are the steps we are being used here, okay, to calculate the GDP, and role of ports, right? And the ports meaning, what exactly it is there, and what do you mean by trade, and what do you mean by trade policies, okay, and role of the transportation, the connectivity by air, by land, right, by water and inland waterways and related concepts. Okay, all these we will discuss here. Trust me, and if you have clarity over all these subjects, sorry, all the topics, total 9 topics are there. In whole geography, okay, total including this 10, right? Suppose if you have these physical 5 and this is a 4, trust me, and if you have concept clarity over all these, just application, are you getting my point? Just application of these 9 chapters, okay, 9 chapters, right, 9 chapters over where? Over, if I say the application of them on world, suppose I can tell you, and that is called the world geography. Sir, means what we will study here? Sir, we will study what are the world vegetation, because already environmental geography you would have learned, or you will learn the vegetation, just world geography, world mineral regions. Are you getting my point? World drainage system, right, and world ports and this. And similarly on India, you can call it as the Indian geography, simple. And just what we will learn there, or what we learn there actually there, drainage system, just apply the drainage system here. The mineral regions in economic geography, sorry, in regional geography, you will learn. And the ports there and here, like what we will learn there, what do you mean by port, what do we mean by harbor, what do you mean by dry land port, coast, okay, sea port, types of ports, what do you mean by time release survey, right? All these things we will study there, just apply the things. And similarly you can say that, you know, vegetation, soils, in pedology we will learn soil, just apply the concept what we have learned there on India. And similarly, in the same manner, if you apply on India, sorry, on Karnataka, it would be the Karnataka geography. And similarly, even you can, if you have clarity over the 9 topics, even you can apply the same thing for your village and your district and all. Okay, trust me, the geography and economy are the major pillars for your preparation. And if you have clarity over these 2 subjects, trust me, more than 40% of the preparation is done. Okay, I hope you are understood the overview of the geography. Okay, I hope. I think in the given 2 to 3 weeks, maybe there will be a case notification. Okay, and soon we will start the classes too, be it offline and online. Okay, thank you. All the best.